Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Mystery Writer speaking, and welcome to the show. It's that time again. Time for another unboxing video. Yay! Okay. Well, got some more Vipsy Pop merch this time around, and I already got the Halloween socks. Yay! And yes, Vipsy, they are very comfortable. Thank you. But today, guess what just came in the mail? Some new enamel pins from Shark Robot. For once, they didn't screw up my address. They got lucky this time. But I'm watching you, punks. I'm watching you. Anyways, let's just go ahead and open up this bad boy and see what we got here. Okay, first up, we got ourselves the long-awaited Fox pin. See that? Fox. The TV demon, arch enemy to Alistair. Yeah, I've had my eye on this pin for a long time, but never got around to buying it, but now I did. Finally decided to go a little bit wild with the spending. Probably not a good idea, but hey, I'm supporting one of my favorite YouTubers. That's all that matters. Speaking of one of my favorites, here's Luna again. Looking more like a werewolf than a hellhound now. Oh, hailing at the moon. That's awesome. That is awesome. These pins, both of these pins are awesome. Wow, there's such detail on these. Look at these. Those are cool. Those are really, really cool. I just noticed too. This one's colored, and this one's in black and white. The logo, I mean. Look at that. That's really cool. I need to clip my nails. All right. Anyways, yeah, that's all that's come in the mail right now. That's really about it. Wow, this is the shortest video I've done in a long time. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Mystery Writer speaking, and welcome to the show. Today, I bring you an extra special Halloween treat. Now, I know I've promised you the review of Homecoming, but I have sort of stumbled upon something very, very interesting, very creepy, and very appropriate for this Halloween season. Now, don't worry, I do plan on getting to the Homecoming review very shortly. But for now, let us check out the 1985 Czech animated film, The Pied Piper, also known as Krysar. Now, this version of The Pied Piper is especially creepy. I mean, don't get me wrong, the idea of a flute-playing guy who's been cheated out of whatever reward that he was promised by a corrupt local government, that sounds familiar, only to then turn on them and take their children is already kind of creepy, if you think about it. I mean, it's not like it's real or anything. It never really happened, right? Wrong! Apparently it did. Yep, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. It apparently happened. Something like this apparently happened in history. Now, I'm not going to go into that much detail about it, but apparently there was an event in medieval Germany and where a colorful piper actually lured 130 children away. To where? No one knows. For more information on this topic, please check out the link in the description below for the Sebastian Leon video on this topic. It's kind of weird that I stumbled upon this right before actually watching this creepy movie. So yeah, apparently this is definitely one of the creepiest animated films I have ever seen, and most likely you'll ever see. You know why? Because of its unique art style. Before we get into that, however, let's jump into a little bit of the production history, which is actually very interesting for this film. Now, the film was directed by Jerry Branta. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Please forgive the ignorant American. Research for the film took 6 months. Writing the script took a year. Actually filming the movie took another year. So yeah, you can clearly see that a lot of hard work went into this. In fact, Jerry Branta himself made all the models used in this film. Oh, and don't worry about subtitles. You're not going to need them, because the film actually uses a fictitious language. That's right. It's mostly just a bunch of high-pitched squeaking and stuff like that. And in fact, Branta actually used multiple sources to create his story. That's right. He takes bits and pieces from the various forms of this fairy tale. Not just the classic Pied Piper comes in, he gets ripped off after doing the deed, and then he takes the children. No, that would be way too simple. Instead, he takes from multiple sources to create a rather unique and just downright terrifying story. So how does this movie begin? With clockworks! No, literally, it starts with clockworks. The day literally starts off with clockworks. And then we begin to see the unique, artistically unique models used in this film. Now, the film actually uses inspiration from not only medieval German art, but also from German Expressionism. Yes, German Expressionism with its quirky, exaggerated angles. And German Expressionism was especially seen in the early 20th century in film, such as The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. Great film, by the way. And even used in modern film, in such films such as the Tim Burton films. But we're not here to talk about that. Let's talk about this crazy film. And so we continue on, seeing the hustle and bustle of the town life. Seeing all of these practically mechanical people, a direction that was actually purposeful, I might add, as they are soon come upon by rats, which look surprisingly realistic. Apparently, in some shots, real rats were used, especially in some of the close-ups of the faces and even the rats in the water. I hope PETA doesn't see this film. Anyways, as we see some haggling turning into borderline warfare, the rats are kind of almost a mirror reflection of the people themselves. We see the people hoarding money, hoarding all kinds of things, fighting with each other, gorging themselves on food and drinks and wine. And apparently sex. Did I mention there's sex in this film? Or at least implied sex. Yeah. Kids film! Anyways. Eventually we are introduced to the town leaders. They have a short meeting before immediately going to dinner where they gorge themselves on meats and other such things. And some of them even hire prostitutes. demonstration in a kid's film? This is a kid's film, right? I'm starting to think this is not a kid's film. Or at least not a kid's film in the Western sense. Moving on. The next day, the rats emerge. They chew their way through the walls, mirrors, everything. They steal food. They attack the townspeople. They even destroy the mayor's chair. Oh no! But coincidentally, at that same moment, a mysterious cloaked figure, brandishing what appears to be a pipe made of bone or ivory, walks into town. The rats flee from the very sight of him. He almost looks like Death himself. He walks up to the town hall, meets with the mayor and the town council, giving a demonstration of his power. That is when the town leaders promise him 1,000 gold if he can get rid of all the rats. And that's exactly what he does. He begins to play his pipe, plays an eerie tune as he marches through the town. And the rats begin to follow. On his journey, he sees a lovely woman who looks different from everybody else. But again, this is a purposeful art direction. Apparently, she and another character that we're about to see, the fisherman, have a more softer appearance to them, with this woman appearing more like a wooden doll compared to the mechanical and angled look of everybody else. Even the fisherman has a more softer appearance to him. This is to show purity. Jerry Bronte wanted to express the fact that these people are some of the more pure among them, among all these corrupt, sinful, gluttonous, greedy people of this town. Anyway, this particular woman is being harassed by an unwanted suitor who is a total creep, and he really should learn that no means no. But he is chased off by the piper as he goes by. We then meet the fisherman. Yay, he's finally there. Who sees the piper on a high cliff as the rats begin to jump to their deaths. Except one, he or she, whatever it is, decides, I don't know if I'm able to go. Are you sure, Mr. Piper? Just go already. Okay, I'll go. Whee! And so the deed is done. The rats are gone. On his way back, he sees that the woman is being harassed yet again. This time the guy has a chest full of gold or jewels that he shows off like, hey, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. You totally want me. I know you want me. I know you want me. You know, basically being the most annoying guy ever. Again, dude, no means no. Learn it. But the piper, seeing that the woman is in need, stops by again and begins to play, chasing him off once again. As the woman sits beside him listening to his music, she imagines, or somebody imagines, a strangely almost out of place sequence in where a painting comes alive. Yeah, no joke. It literally looks like a painting that comes to life. It's beautiful and yet at the same time comes out of nowhere. Kind of reminds me of my grandmother's paintings. It really does. Anyways, life in the town immediately goes back to normal as if nothing ever happened. Everybody goes back to their sinful, ignorant ways. And the piper shows up at the dinner of the town officials. And what do? Do they give him the money that they owe him? Of course not! They just throw a button at his feet. That's right, they just throw a button at his feet and laugh in his face. This face. Da da da! Oh my gosh. If that isn't the face of death, I don't know what is. When I first saw this, it was terrifying, man. He literally looks like the face of death. Anyways, while the piper is away, the creepy suitor and two of his drunken buddies show up at the home of the woman. And then they break in. No joke, they literally break in. And then they do something, well, again, not graphic, and they don't show the entire ordeal. Basically, stuff that I would get in trouble for even mentioning on YouTube. Yeah, long story short, they leave her for dead and she dies. The piper finds her body, and in the morning, exacts his revenge. He arrives at the clock tower at sunrise. And when the sun rises, he begins to play an eerie tune. The townspeople all gather, wondering what the music is. And then they turn into rats! That's right! The townspeople are turning into rats! Children are not even involved in this story that much. In fact, up to this point, we haven't actually seen any kids. No, instead, the townspeople begin turning into rats. I don't know what version of the story this is from, but oh my gosh, it's terrifying. Especially the rats with human faces. Oh, I'm getting Cats flashbacks. Get that out of my head. Anyways, the rats begin to follow the piper. And just like clockwork, we see the fisherman watching on as the rats jump to their deaths into the water below. Except one, who is hesitant. It's the creepy suitor. You can tell by his ratty face. But he too eventually jumps to his demise. The fisherman walks up to the piper. But the piper, just like Luke Skywalker, is like, I'm out of here! Whee! Okay, then. I guess he was a Jedi. Anyways, the fisherman begins to explore the village. There he hears the crying of an infant. He takes the infant into his arms and then leaves the village behind. wandering into the horizon in that same almost psychedelic 2D environment that we saw before. And so the story ends and the credits begin to roll. And that was 1985's Czech stop-motion film, The Pied Piper, aka Krysar. What do I think of it? Well, it definitely gives Coraline a run for its money for the creepiest animated film ever. The way that the animation is, it's not as fluid as modern stop motion is, but because of the way that the characters move and look, that they appear to be more like a part of a painting or a part of clockworks, it works for this film. It adds an eerie intensity to the environment. It is so much like our own world, and yet at the same time, it's so alien. And yet, in comparison to these rats, some of which are actual rats in some shots, while others are realistic or just realistic dolls, it's jarring that the rats are more realistic than the human beings. The story is a bit simple. It achieves what it sets out to do. Give you a beginning, middle, and end. It doesn't give you anything more than that. I mean, the entire thing is like for crying out loud, the entire movie is 53 minutes. You can watch it right now. Heck, it's free on YouTube. I'll provide a link in the description below, along with my grading scale that you can look at. But overall, the film is great. I enjoyed it. It's scary. It actually is scary. It goes for the shock value, but in the best way possible. It's not like the Saw films that just has torture porn in it just to shock people. It's not like something like Saw, the Saw franchise, and where, especially in the later films, they just start throwing these death traps and torture porn at you just to shock you, just to scare you in the cheapest way possible. Not here, though. The shock value in this film has purpose. It's to send a message. Such as the part in where the people begin turning into rats. They're turning into what they really are. We saw this earlier in the film by having this mirror image between the human beings and how they behaved and the rats and how they behaved. How they hoard things, how they're gluttonous, how they eat, how they breed, how they just go about their lives. In other words, the human beings in the story, or at least a majority of them, a great majority of them, were no better than the rats. Another aspect that I'm a little concerned about with this film was the addition of the woman character and having that sort of relationship with the Piper. Now, don't get me wrong, it's actually great. I really enjoyed that aspect. Even if it turned immediately dark with the whole, getting killed thing. I wish there was a little bit more development, more time spent between the two to really see where things would have gone, for us to really understand and feel for these characters. Yet regardless, this film is fantastic, and I highly recommend it. And so, I give this film a 4.75 out of 5. It is definitely an above average film, but because of the time restraint given to the film and some less than fully developed aspects, film is just that close from being perfect. Well, that's all the time I have for now. And so, this has been the Mystery Writer speaking, and until next time, sayonara, and happy Halloween!